other school library directors who have joined us this morning, and for all of you that have been facing the challenges of the last year. We're delighted to be here, John and I, and we, just like you, one of the things that we have had to do in the past year is learn to be even more flexible than usual because of the changes and the challenges that you have had to face as library automation and in running your libraries and providing services to your clientele. We understand that so much of the past year has been characterized by changes. Some of you have had to deal with hybrid learning, some of them remote, and some of you a little bit of everything in the course of even the same week. So one of the things that we have been able to do within an open source community is to be able to make changes to help you adapt to the realities that you have to face and that are ahead of us as well. However, things seem to be calming down, and perhaps as we face the next school year, that we'll be back to something resembling the normal. However, what's kind of fascinating to us in all of that has happened in the past year is that although some things will return to so-called normal in the fall, possibly, that some things will have changed for a long time. And some things have remained the same, which is kind of ironic as well, and will remain the same. So I was listening to an economist speak about the economy and how people will be getting back to buying things in stores and so on. However, they were also commenting how that some of us have gotten used to online shopping, as I have as well, but I still enjoy going to stores. So I think that what we're going to see is a return to the new normal and going back to stores and shopping, etc. However, sometimes when we need something in a hurry and we're sure of the brand name and the supplier, we may actually have adopted the online shopping model for those instances. So I think it will be some things will come back to normal, so-called, and some things will have changed forever. One of the things that we noticed in working with school libraries in the past year is that even though we had an expectation that almost everything would move to online instruction and the use of digital resources, we were quite pleasantly surprised about with the pressure that came from very often parents as well as students to be able to borrow actual print books. And so one of the things that we had to address was that particular demand. In fact, we had cases where parents did not know how to get in touch with their librarian, even though they had web pages. They would somehow, however, be able to trace the fact that we are the vendors or the providers of those library services. And what happened was many of those, rather anecdotally, some of those parents got in touch with us to see how they could still get printed books for their students, for their children. And we referred them back to their librarian who was in fact offering, who were in fact offering those kinds of services to them. So that was kind of an interesting development, and we can speak to that more a little bit later. But one of the things that has changed, as it has for you and me as shoppers, and as in terms of kinds of services that we are getting and during the pandemic, and how we're able to use technology to get those services or to access them, is that things have changed in our environment that have made things that we didn't think would be possible for at least a few more years to be able to be done right now. And so some of the adjustments that we made to enable you to adapt to that, to those new realities, are among the changes that we have introduced incrementally over since the winter and of this last school year, when we thought everything would be back to normal, actually, and it wasn't, and it still isn't. But we made changes incrementally, and we are continuing to make changes as the scenarios that you face continue to evolve. One of the things that did change, of course, and has been with us for a little while, but got even better, is the internet infrastructure. So that is ubiquitous and is available to almost everybody. And in cases where it was not available, we were able to, in many cases, the districts were able to provide hotspots and checkout hotspots and Chromebooks to students who might not have had internet connections at home. So that was an interesting change that the pandemic had catapulted. And in addition to that, the pandemic, if you will, of Chromebooks and the tsunami, rather, of Chromebooks washed across the beaches. And so that hundreds and in some districts, thousands of Chromebooks suddenly were available for our students to use. So that is part of an infrastructure that might have taken it in the past 4 or 5 years to evolve, but it's with us now. And in most districts, in many districts, there's one-to-one computing, and the internet connectivity is there, and in many cases, students can access the internet. In most cases, students can access the internet from home. So one of the things that, those were parts of the infrastructure that made certain functionality, certain options in Opals to be easily accessible to librarians and for them to make these services available to their students. So we have been able to tap into those resources, the fact that students have Chromebooks and that they can use them at home, and also to address some of the obstacles. We used to think that K-3 students, for example, would never be able to do self-service reservation requests. In fact, one of the things that we have learned is that once we have made it easy to sign on to an Opals system, that actually, and with some changes that we have made to the self-service reserve options in Opals, have made it actually very easy for those students to log in, and they're quite adept actually at making those requests. So one of the speed bumps that had presented itself to us in the past was now gone, in the sense that so many schools have implemented Google Classroom or other single sign-on technologies such as ClassLinks or Clever or Rapid ID or Okta or SAML or LDAP-based authentication systems. And one of the things that has been assigned to most of these students is some kind of email address or ID. And in most cases, it's an email address, which is part of their single sign-on strategy or access to the classroom resources. And we have introduced in Opals the ability for you or your IT folks and for us to work with your school library systems and MORIC to be able to offer this kind of access to your students. Kind of interesting that because the access to so many of the classroom resources uses a student ID, or rather a student email address, that these factors, these bits of data have been included in the student uploads increasingly. And this also makes a lot of other things possible, as you will see shortly. So the synchronization of Opals with these other single sign-on credentials can be implemented quite easily, and with support from MORIC and working with us, we can implement this in most places with your district IT people in less than 20 minutes in most cases. So this was a major obstacle that has been, or speed bump that has been removed from making it possible to do interlibrary loans, or for students to make, I'm sorry, not interlibrary loan, but for students to make self-service library reserve requests. Now, Interestingly enough, some of the librarians with which we work and their parents have equated this with online shopping. So this is quite a wonderful service and an opportunity for us as in the library world to be able to promote the library as online shopping for information resources, for books, and with the advantage that it doesn't require a credit card. So that's quite a remarkable service. And also, we have made improvements to student and teacher shopping and book ordering experiences. And because with the increase in the number of self-service reserved requests, how do you manage that and how do you process it? And John will be speaking to us about that shortly. Now, in terms of the student access, because we have made this easier to do and because there was such a demand for that service, that we have spent a lot of time updating Opals so that it's easy for even K3 students to make ILL requests once they have logged in. And so we modified the OWL interface, for example, and also the beginners interface, so that when students are logged in and they want to make a request, they simply have to click on an orange request button. This pop-up box will display, which will indicate that what it is that they are trying to reserve, and all they need to do is click on the submit request button. So whether they're parents at home in a hybrid learning situation or remote learning situation, or whether it's a student at home, that's as easy as it is to submit an interlibrary loan request. And quite a few of them that have adopted this are in the habit of doing this. And I suspect that when they get back to so-called normal in the fall, that they will remain online shoppers of your services. They'll still want to come to see you, and that will be wonderful, and especially in elementary schools where you meet them 20 or 30 at a time, and you deal with a tsunami of loans at that point. But in the meantime, I think that I'm pretty sure that students will continue to want to be able to make reserves from their classrooms or from home or from wherever they happen to be. Now, we've also paid attention to this on the high school level and the teacher level. There's some additional information that appears in the pop-up screen that's related to communication with them. If you have activated telephones data in their records, which probably you wouldn't do in a school. This is more for public libraries where people maybe don't want to be contacted by email with these notices. The system will actually allow you to customize that according to what your needs are. So it's pretty easy now for all of your constituency to submit self-service reservation requests. Now, the management part of it, I'm just going to go over this quickly, and John will spend more time on specifics. The self-service part of it is very important to be able to update. And so we did spend a lot of time last year and last winter in making this a very granular and easy to manage process. Now, if students and teachers have submitted online requests, when you log in the morning, that reminder that appears in the top right-hand corner will tell you how many reserves you have, and you can actually get to that immediately by clicking on that particular listing. 11 holds are on reserve at Escondido Elementary School when we did that screen capture. And then when you do access this, you'll notice in my screen display that there's a very detailed management function for managing these requests. There's a pending tab, active, on hold, completed, rejected, canceled, expired, and process tracking. And at this point, John, are you ready for me to pass the baton on to you, or?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so.
I sent you a chat, by the way.
Oh, okay, good.
Yep.
We'll try to read that while you are taking over. Now, are you able to share, or do I need to pass this on to you? I think I do.
Lisa, does Harry need to? I see a switch to shared content. You gave us rights, so does Harry have to unshare? Lisa?
Let's see here, meeting information.
I am not sure how Zoom works, so
Okay,
I probably has to unshare. I don't.
all right,
You're signed on both as co-hosts, so.
great. So maybe if Harry unshares, let me know when you're done, Harry.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to do that. In front of 52 people. Let's see now.
I think the arrow to the right at the bottom under share screen, I think if you click on the little arrow at the, down at the bottom, the Zoom thing will
Yeah,
show up
Where?
in the taskbar. You bring your mouse down.
to the share screen area, right?
Mhm.
I don't see that actually.
Maybe I can unshare you. Let's see.
More.
Okay, hold on. Now I changed the setting to
Right.
multiple.
I can unshare him.
Multiple.
Okay,
Yep.
please feel
Okay.
free to do that.
You might be.
Now, do you all
yeah.
see some books?
No, we
Oh,
still
shoot.
see Harry.
Oh,
I am
stop. Let me stop sharing. Yeah, there we go. Now you can see some books.
Okay,
we can see
just
you,
so you
John.
know, good morning, everyone. This is John Schuster. I've probably met many of you prior to COVID. Hope to see you again someday. Now, right now, I'm logged in as a student. So I thought I'd start with that. And you'll see that, you see how the purple's showing on reserve? Those are to me. So if I'm a high school student and I click request, you'll see that my email is there. I want one copy, maximum one. I could put a phone number in and have them call me, but I'm thinking that librarians aren't going to want to call people. Maybe public librarians do, but correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think a lot of school librarians have time to make phone calls. So I'm going to leave it at email. The expiry date is when I don't need it. After this date, I won't need it. Like if a teacher has a lesson and he or she puts it on reserve, the lesson may end, I don't know, in the middle of June or something, and they might not need it then. I'm just going to simply submit request. Okay. And now I'm just going to go to the OWL beginner and just show it to you. I'm going to type history. And remember, I'm logged in as a student. I can't type with 50 people looking at me. And you'll see that we have request buttons, and they'll look just pretty much the same as the other one. And then because I'm logged in, it knows who I am, and I could put in an expiry date and send it to the librarian. And it makes it real easy. This is a shorter form than the high school, middle school form. I'm just going to cancel this. Okay, so I showed you that I submitted some requests, and I would like to ask a question. This is a question that I guess get asked all the time. And Lisa, you're welcome to chime in. But a lot of times librarians ask me, what's the difference between a hold and a reserve? And if you don't mind, I'll just give you my take. A hold is where maybe a student goes into the catalog and it's available and they request it. That means it's presumably on the shelf and shelved correctly. So you can go and I always like this, you can hold the book in your hand if it's in the library. So a hold is where I see a book like South Africa here with the availability at 1, that will be a hold. However, I don't know if I see any out here, but if I saw any books out, such as Lisa Addison has a book out and I would like it next, that goes into your management system, but that will become a reserve because it's out and you can't hold the book in your hand. Does that make sense, folks? Or Lisa?
Yeah, that's exactly how I explain it.
Okay, great. So I am now going to log out as a student. Bear with me. I'm going to log in as an admin, library. Oh, sorry. I always do that. There you go. So now I'm logged in as an administrator. Sorry about this Chrome thing. I should have probably gone to, but here you'll see right away it popped up. 1 member ILL, 7 reserves need processing, 3 holds need processing. So I could just go to this. I could go to admin and reports and tools and go into that, but it's easier if you just go here. Just click this, and now it's taking us into the reserve request management. I'm going to step back a minute and make sure, excuse me, 1 second. Well, Lisa, you'll know to tell them that in the reserve system on system preferences, you want to have the enhanced reserve turned on.
Yeah, we usually set that all up when they want to do self-reserve.
Excellent.
And I also do tell them to make sure they clean out all their process all your reserves first before you go to your holds.
Right. Good move. Or process your reserves. Okay. So here I am on a pending screen, and this is a mishmash of requests. By the way, you'll see that you have homeroom, teacher, and grade. Apparently, my name doesn't have that. I need to fill it in a little bit better, but I just want you to know that you can sort by the requester, you can sort by homeroom, teacher, and or grade, which makes your life a little easier if you want to just look at a certain group or a certain grade or a certain homeroom at once. It would be at the top. So I wanted to say that first. Now we're in the pending, okay? I can go over here and click approved, and they're all here. They're all approved. Or I could click rejected, or I could click print. I'm not going to print these. I'll show you the print in a moment. So I'm going to click approve, and these are in the pending. So you'll see that once I click approved, process checked actions, the pending will be empty. And then depending on these requests, they'll either go out on hold or active. So I'll show you that right now. I'm going to process the checked actions. Okay. And now I'm just going to go back to the reserves. Let me show it to you here. I could refresh the screen, but I thought I'd take this a second. Where's reserve request? Sorry. Oh, here we are. Sorry, reserved items. I can click that. And you see everybody's gone off the pending. Where did they go? Well, let's look at active. And we see that Harry Chan has an active reserve and or an active, it's on hold or reserve. And by the way, if this list gets long, or let me go to on hold, this will be a longer list. I always recommend the following. These are on hold. So that means presumably you can hold the book in your hand, but who knows? It might be misshelved or it might be missing and you don't know it. So I always recommend to click this and print them all and check your shelves before you click ready and let the patron know, the student know that it's in. I think it's a really good idea. You can sort this in call number order right there. And I could print these. I won't do it now, but I could print the list, print all, and then go to the shelves just to make sure the items are on the shelf. Okay. Now I'm going to go to active, and there's Harry, and I am going, priority is number 1. And by the way, if we had more people on this list, you can move the priority, but be careful. As you know, people know when they put a book on, and maybe they look and I don't know, maybe they only see one, but you move the principal, the superintendent, the librarian up, or a student above the other student. I would be careful about that. So that's just another thing to think about. You see Harry's number 1 because he's the only one there. But if this was filled, and I'm sorry I didn't fill it earlier, you would see more, and then you would see a little option here that you could move John Schuster above Harry. Okay. All right. So now let's look at rejected. Now I don't think, for some reason, these were rejected. Reject date, it tells you when they were rejected. They may have been rejected because they weren't on the shelves or whatever, or the ebook. See, that's an ebook, so that it doesn't really need that. An ebook presumably could be read by anyone. You'll also see this on the far right, the reactivate, or I can print this, these rejected. We're here in rejected. And by the way, I can also change my due date or my from and to date. So if I wanted to, I could go to September 2021, say the 1st, and rerun the report, things like that. So I just wanted to show you that you do have the date range selection. You do have options for the requester process date, title, homeroom, teacher grade. That's another nice thing you could have. And remember that these are all sortable, even the title's sortable. All these columns are pretty much sortable. So that's another thing. Let's see if there's any canceled. Okay, there are. And these were canceled a long time ago, but maybe they were canceled because of COVID, and that's June. And maybe the students or the librarian or somebody canceled them. They could be reactivated, but be careful with that, because if you reactivate it, perhaps the student or teacher doesn't want it anymore. So you may want to just leave them canceled, and if you see a student, talk to them, etc. I hope that makes sense. Okay, expired. Okay, these were expired, and they were expired on this date. And I'd like to mention something that's important, especially if we're still going to be in COVID. If you don't mind, I'm going to step out of this a minute, and I'll go back to it. But I'm going to preferences, I'm going to item types, and I just want to show you the G. And many times I see for student, 90 days is good. For a teacher, 30 days is good, but sometimes I will come across a site where the reserve period is exactly the loan period. So if it goes out for 10 days and the reserve period is 10 days and the student brings it back a day late, then their hold, for example, would expire. So you want the reserve period to, especially during COVID, during even the normal school year without COVID, you want the reserve period to be a high number. I usually like 90, 100 or the like. The whole period during COVID, I would tell people that because you're not seeing the students every day, and you might not see, I know schools, they don't see them for 2 weeks or something. Normally you would have 3 to 10 days in the hold. But if you're still in a COVID environment this fall, you want to make the hold longer because you don't want the student's hold to expire. Okay, so right now the student has a 5-day hold, but they have a 10-day loan, so their holds would expire. So you want to adjust this, and I'm going a little out of the norm of what I was going to cover, but I think this is important, and Lisa can go over it with you. You click the pad on the far right, and then you can change these values as you see fit. Okay, all right. Now I'm going back to my task reminder. I'm just going to go to the 9 hold items that need processing, and there they are. I could mark them ready. That means that they're ready to pick up. I've checked, I've already printed. You'll also see that some people have emails, so I could click ready and click this email and say the following is now available and being held for you. Just another note, I'm sorry if I'm talking fast. I know our time is limited today. Another note would be that, well, first of all, you can change this note and check from an archive and have, we'll deliver next week. You can have many messages in the archive, just so you know that. So it's similar to archiving your overdue messages. So you could change this. So if I change this to something else, like that, I could save as new. I could just save it and write over the other message, and that would take over the archived version. I'm not going to do that, but you can save as new. If you click save, it goes to the archive. I'm just going to cancel that. So the expired, just remember, I went over the preferences, and you want your holds, especially if you're not in if you're in a COVID setting next year, which I hope we're not, I'm kind of thinking we won't be, you don't want, you want a longer hold, okay? Process tracking will just show you what has gone on. And you'll see the request date, the status, it's ready, hold. So you can get, and you see 138 records. I could go to the very last page, and now we're seeing March 18th and May 17th, where they're on hold. These are new ones that I placed, okay? So I think, I know I did this fast, and I'm sure the MORIC and Lisa and Karen can help you out. And in addition, me and myself and Lisa and Karen and Harry, we have Zoom sessions with them too, but they'll be able to help you out with this.
John, the only question I have is in the process tracking report,
Yeah.
is there any way to clear that history out? Like, say, it's there for multiple school years, and you really don't want to have to go through all those pages for multiple school years, especially on things that.
You're right. Very.
The only thing I would think that everybody would be interested in being able to keep that data. I mean, granted, I think you can search and bring the current year first by clicking on the.
Yeah.
But still, in some instances, I noticed that there's a lot of data that stays that is hard to get to the current stuff.
Yeah, I tried to clear, and if I go back to page 2, would you just write that down, Lisa? And Harry, do you know of a way that I don't know? If Harry could chime in. Harry's getting coffee. I'm kidding. Well, we'll look at that. I thought this clear might do it, but it isn't. So just a second.
Yeah, I can't remember if the programmers have addressed that yet, and
it's a good idea.
It's a big program, and it's used extensively. So I would imagine that clearing those out would be important. We also have some quite large public libraries using this too, so I imagine that could get quite big.
Yes, so we'll have a firm answer, and maybe they'll add it today for that matter. Okay.
Thanks,
so John. Yes, and thank you for the question or the query about. That's a good idea, by the way. You don't. It's kind of like when you look at your days closed, and I see stuff from 2017. I tell folks, clean it out. You don't want to have to look at all that stuff. So anyway, so that is the reserve request management. And you saw me place a reserve, and you saw, well, right now admin doesn't have the ability, but just so you know, the OWL beginner now has a very simple one. And for the older folks, the middle and high school, their form, as you saw earlier, is a little bit more of a form. And also I'd like to mention that I've put out a lot of many YouTube clips on our YouTube channel last week. And I do have an older clip, but because we've enhanced this some, I will replace the older clip as soon as I can with the newer clip, and that'll be on our YouTube channel as well. So it's a good idea, and I think Lisa has already notified you all of the YouTube channel, so you'll see a number of new things there. Okay? All right. So the reserve processing, let me show you a couple other options. And this is almost going in order of what you would like. If you go to circulation notices and you run the notice and you print them, provided the student has a email, if you click these, if I click these and I click email notice, and I see it's in Spanish, no problem. I'm emailing the notice, and in a moment we'll get a notification, and 2 notices have been created and sent shortly. And just so you know, as you see on page 4, that the reserved items availability email or print includes book thumbnails. So you'll have the book covers on there, but I'd like to I feel it's important as a librarian to mention this. When you, let's say you print these, I could print all of this. And there you see, there's the covers. But just be aware that if I do this, hang on a minute, just a sec, I want to get rid of that. If you send it to the parents, I just feel obligated to say this, that if you send the notice, like if I go to print notice, you see how it's to home address or handout, etc. If you send it to the parents, which many libraries have them, their emails, that could be a violation of privacy. Now, I know maybe for the little folks, we do it all the time. I don't blame you. You know, John Schuster in 3rd grade, he can't remember the book. He can't find it. Maybe the cover would help. But I just feel obligated to mention that, especially if you send them to parents' emails, or you print the list, or this notice email list. This is where I could pull up a class, send it to John Schuster, the teacher, and send it. That could also be a violation of privacy, because now my teacher has all the books I read. So, yeah.
John, I just want to state with the emailing notices, it's different in every district with the restrictions. All the students have, their Google account with their email, but many districts have certain grade levels blocked from receiving email, even internal email. So that is something that you need to keep in mind when trying to email notices to your students.
Thank you. And that, that's interesting, because you just pointed out something very important. Every district has whatever rules they may have. Now, we deal with a lot of religious schools, and they're not in a district. They're usually just their school by themselves. And they are less concerned about privacy, but I always mention it to them. But for some reason, they want the parents to see that. But I always feel obligated to talk about privacy, just as a librarian. So anyway, thank you very much, Lisa. Okay, I'm going to the home screen, and I'd like to show you a few other nice, very nice options. As I told you, I don't type well in front of 50+ people, even though you're virtual. So I've got my history books. There's nothing up here. You don't see anything up here. And I already have a video out there on creating a bibliography. I probably should change that to account for the books cover. So here, now you'll see, I have 20 items selected. I can view the bib, and you will see the thumbnails right here, which is nice. Very nice, actually. And just in case you haven't worked with the bibliography, you can delete books if you don't want them there anymore by choosing that. You can include the summary, which I think is great. Right here, you've got your summary. You can include contents note from the 505, the best poems of 2021, or in this book, Explore Ireland, and here's the different chapters in the book. So that's coming from the 505. So I personally, if I was going to create a bibliography for a teacher or something, I would definitely choose summary and contents note, just because that would give them, there's another thing you can include, and that's the location. So if you have locations in your library, that will show where that location is. Now, this is a dev site, so it's not quite like your library sites, but location, they show it here, and that would show up. I don't remember what the location one is, but that would show up. So it's really nice to and include book cover. If you don't want the book cover, you can click no. It defaults to yes. So that's how your book images will come on your bibliographies. Okay. Yes.
There's a couple of things in the chat. Is it possible to generate to a CSV, a bibliography versus strictly a PDF?
Great. Yeah.
And would it be possible to include the Lexile on a bibliography?
Well, that would be an update. Could you write that? You're our secretary, because
Yep. I've got Karen writing stuff down.
Yes.
So.
And speaking of CSV, we have that in a number of places, as you all know, but I think that would be nice. So you could have a spreadsheet as a
Yeah.
bibliography. The only thing I don't know, and we'd talk to the programmers, if where the book cover would come up on a spreadsheet. It might not.
Right.
Okay, I'm not sure. But, and also finally, the shelf list. If you're going to give this to a student or a teacher, MLA or APA is not the way to go. That's if you're writing a paper, but you want this in shelf list order if you're going to hand it out to a teacher, or even instruct your students that if you do a bibliography and you want to pull the books, and it's easier to do it in shelf list order, as these call numbers are showing you. Okay. All right. Now I'd like to show you, is there any more questions on this?
May I ask a question, or do you want me to wait till the end?
No, you can ask if we're on this now.
My name is Amy Jerome.
Hi.
Hi, I'm familiar with your bibliography, but I have never found a way to scan titles and then create a bibliography from the hit list of scanned titles.
So we need a hit list option. Very good question. Very good point, actually. Not even a question. Lisa?
Karen's writing it down as we speak.
Okay. I hope you guys don't think I'm ordering you around at all.
Absolutely not.
No.
That way we know when we type it up and send it to you that everybody's questions have been addressed.
Yes, very, very good point.
So
I love hit list. By the way, just so you know, Amy, I have a video out there that really won't change on our YouTube on how to create hit lists and how to use hit lists to delete items, etc.
But
When
you
we get a hit, what?
you don't have one currently that allows you to create a bibliography from a hit list.
No, but we've got that down and we'll send it along to the programmers. And Harry could chime in, but I have a feeling that it won't take them long to do that. And I'll say that because of what we use the word Lego. They could take the hit list from another area of the program and Lego it on here. I'm not making any promises how long it'll take, but I don't think it'll take us that long. Okay.
I think they're already doing that for things like topic walls and genre lists and so on. So
Okay.
we could Lego that into this particular application as well.
It's a good idea, don't you think, Harry?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I'm surprised we haven't had that request before now.
Yeah. Well, you know, open source is, we're doing it right now with Amy and Lisa and everyone in the group. That's the whole idea, is to share our ideas so that we can make it more user processed, not friendly, but make it more better for your needs, I guess is the way I would put it. Okay, now I'm going to just show you another thing. If I go to loaned items, this is, by the way, I'm going to go back a ways. And I'll create the report. Now, just so you know, we've added this, it was a little while ago, but you can email notices. Now, the ones in red are overdue. So Rachel, these are all fake people. We're not revealing. You'll see my emails on a lot of these. These are not real students, so we're not violating privacy. That's a big thing for me. Here's one due May 26th, but this same student had some due earlier. Now you can click a student and then email the notice to them, okay? And you can email just like, almost like a courtesy note. Oh, you came in the library last week and you wondered what you wondered about the due dates and stuff. So I could send Ladarius an email, and Ladarius would see the due dates and when he loaned it. So that's another option, is to email notice. This would go to a teacher. Be careful, privacy. And you can print the notice. Testing on loan. Okay. Okay. Please note that Andrea and Harry Chan owe close to $300 in fines. Okay. So Harry, you better get up there and pay those fines. So I wanted to show you that. And also the book, once you email the notice, the book cover comes on that, and just be careful about that as well. Okay. So that's a list of items on loan. That's on page 4 of your overdue email messages. Also include the book cover. I already covered the bib list with the book cover. Now I'm on page 5, and I'd like to show you the portal updates. Okay. I'm going to go home, and to show you this properly, I'm going to log out. Okay. And let's look at the portals or the tabs. By the way, the reason I hesitated is I had a hummingbird staring at me right out my window, and he was looking for his food. I had to move it, so he was a little confused. Sorry about that. So you see, here's where I look and I see what it's like. And if I logged in as John Schuster, I would see these tabs, right? Well, we've added a much requested tab that only the librarian or whoever you designate can see it. So I'll show you that. I'm logging out, or I'm logging in. I was logged out. This is a really nice tab, and it's been requested often. And what do you use it for? Well, the librarian might put all their vendor passwords or whatever. You know, he or she might put whatever they want that they don't necessarily want the public to have to see. Not that it's that private, but anyway. Now do you see that now that I'm logged in, I get library staff. So I can click that. Now, because it's spring, I just put some pictures of birds outside. That's a pretty cool picture. With the wings. But this is where you might put your vendor logins and all that stuff that you don't want people to see. Let me show you how to create that. It'll only take a minute. Sorry if I'm talking so fast. Lisa and Karen can go over this. We could have mutual Zooms, whatever you like, we'll cover it. So I'm clicking the plus. Now, if you've added tabs in the past, this is going to look different. I'm going to make 3 columns. I'm going to see how all these people could, you know, and you might not have as many, but you'll have student or teacher, volunteers, etc. I'm going to click off all and make it only available to library staff. I'm going to make it a cover. Okay. And I have to put a name. If you don't put a name, it won't give you the option to say, okay. More library resources, and I could populate these 3 columns. So I could have library staff, more library staff resources. I probably should put that, but they won't see it anyway. So just so you know, that's how easy it is to create tabs that only you or whomever you assign. Now, maybe you'll allow a teacher to assign it, or maybe the volunteers of your library, whatever. But I'm picking just library staff at the time. So that is on page 5, portal updates. All right. Now, if there's any questions out there, it's quite simple and direct.
Sort by Lexile.
Oh, yeah. Would you put that down for the bib? If you want Lexile format on the bib, was that what you said,
Yeah.
Karen? Okay, great.
Sorry,
Yes.
I thought I was muted. I was talking to myself.
No, even if you were muted, I can hear everything. I have special software that overrides people muted. I'm kidding.
I talked to myself, sorry.
Well, my grandmother used to say, if you talk to yourself, you have money in the bank. I've proven that wrong.
I agree with you.
Okay, I'd like to show you on page 6. Oh, by the way, I'm going to show you one other thing. Sorry, I got so many ideas. Let's go to notices. We have added the cost to a lot of pages so that you can tell this one doesn't have it, but the loaned items does. Let me go to there. You'll see that many of our pages now include, that does. I just didn't create the report. You see the total price here is list of items is 0. Let me go back to the notices. Sorry, I didn't run the report. Trying to do the best with my time, folks. There. Oh, it doesn't show there. Well, we'll have to add that. But usually the price is showing. Now, the reason I showed you this is because many of your administrators, and I think Harry says on this that some community groups have offered to pay for losses from COVID, et cetera. It's at the top of page 6. So for some reason, I thought the price would be here. Maybe it's me. But anyway, I'm going to go to segue to the COVID loss reports. And the COVID loss is assigned at the bottom of tools, assign COVID-19 loss status. So I'm going to click this. And I'm going to go back to March. Oops, sorry. I'm going to go back to March 1st up to today, or you could change the date. If you started circulating normally, you could change this, but I'm going to leave it as is. I'm going to create the date. And now we see, now this is really interesting, by the way, we see this 2016. That's very overdue. Do I want to mark that as COVID loss? No. Well, it's due the 19th of February or May. I don't know, maybe they renewed it a lot, but you'll see these are April. You can mark, I'm sorry, you can sort the list there. So now I'm seeing it sorted from May on, and maybe I want to go down here and mark, let me go to another page. Oh, that's all we have. Well, the bottom line is you want to look carefully at this list in case something was taken out in 2016 and due in 2016, you would want to unclick that. Okay, right here, you could unclick these, whatever you'd like. But these are all due May 28th. They were lent out in April. They may be lost, who knows? But just so you know, once you get this report, you want to pay attention, say, to the date due. Okay, and if I click it again, it's showing, you know, April 30th, and they're in red and things like that. So before you do that, you could choose all right, or you could choose selected. If you choose all, you can still unclick some that you think are not appropriate for a COVID loss. Does that make sense, folks? Lisa?
Yes, sorry, I've got email going and everything at the same time.
Pay attention. I'm kidding.
I was paying attention. I went onto my computer because has this been applied to our servers yet? That's what I was wondering. I didn't think we had this option.
No.
as yet.
We expect to be able to deploy these updates during the course of this week.
Okay,
And we'll be in touch with you to let you know when.
okay,
And John was saying there are two things that emerged. One of them was initially some of the districts were reporting that Lions Club and some of the community organizations were offering to pay for lost items in the library. So this gives the librarian an opportunity to, especially elementary school librarians, when hundreds of books were outstanding, maybe even more than that, when the March close down happened last year, and many hundreds of those books are not coming back. So there are those in the community that are willing to pay, but it's kind of this is a good tool for you to be able to give them
Right.
to validate the amount.
We have had requests for that, Harry, in our region.
Okay.
And you know, what I've had them do is just go in to their overdues and before they mark them as lost, and print the overdue list because it would have the price in that for them.
Sure. And there's also going to probably be COVID recovery money coming from federal and state governments. So this would be a way to report this as well.
And even to your principal or superintendent or the district as a whole, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
Not only, yeah.
Good to be able to mention that to them. Yes.
Yeah, John, if somebody has already marked them as lost in the lost item report, is there a way to put in a date range for those items and they can see?
Let me go to that. I wanted to show you something else too, the lost items. You know, you see it every day. Yeah, there's your, if you click historical, you can put in a date range.
Okay.
So you could make it, was it 2020 COVID started, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, yeah, I have a COVID mind. I don't want to think about it anymore. I'm going to make it March 2nd up to whatever today and create the report. And there is my report. And by the way, if I select all the pages, then I can export as a CSV. I can print them. I can also, I'm not going to do anything now because we don't necessarily want to do anything with lost books, but I can make them active, damaged, etc. Okay.
Right. So
yeah.
So the price is still showing up for the books that were already lost and they could get a list. It doesn't doesn't total it for them. That would be something they'd have to manually do, but they could use this report in
Right.
currently for that situation.
Make
Right.
make a note of that though, because it might be, it might be something we could add to change this status, this law status to COVID-19 law status,
Yeah.
just because some folks have preempted us by going ahead and doing this already.
Okay.
And would you make a note about totaling? I'm not sure when we can get to that, Harry, but that is a nice idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, even on your regular lost report, like if an administrator had asked, during this time period, how much money did we lose in lost books?
Right.
It would be nice to have that, be able to run that and query it and have it give us a total.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
could be done pretty quickly, I think.
Yeah. Okay. I would like to show you something else, that not only do you have these reports, but I have an item. I'm going to status, and I'm going to put in the barcode. You would scan it in. You'll see now that we have a new addition here. So if I didn't have this, or somehow I just knew that this one item, you can now put it as COVID lost. Okay. On just one item. Of course, we have that report of all the COVID lost with the date range, but if you have one item for some reason and you want to mark it COVID lost, you can pull up item status and do that. While I'm here, I'll just show you that if you change the call number, you can do that here now too. You can change the call number on item status, which has been around a while, but I just thought I'd show it to you. And then non-public notes, that's been there for a while, the 852X. But that's another option, going to item status and showing that you can mark it COVID lost. Okay. All right. Now
It's Amy again. I have another lost question.
Yeah.
If I go back about 5 years and I have a book that was lost by a student, the student has graduated 3 years ago and the book is still lost and never coming back. At this point, I would like to delete the student and I would like to delete the book.
Okay.
What I'm finding is if I have a whole list of these, I have to go through one at a time. I have to first return the book, then delete the book, then delete the student.
Okay. Okay. Now let's say that I want to delete this page for whatever reason. I could go to this. Well, you're talking about actually, right. I could go to delete, but you're talking about where they're spread out all the time, right?
Well, yeah, they're already marked as lost, so you can't delete the student because it's still considered as a transaction.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
what she has to do is go in and scan the book as returned so that it's found and it changes the item status.
Right.
In order to do that, then she can delete the book and then
Yeah.
she can delete the student.
That's interesting because I have a video on that very topic. But the way you phrase it makes me rethink it. I have a video on reconciling users who have open transactions.
It's
But-
just, it's time consuming because the only way for me to do this is print out a list of all the old ones.
Yeah.
And go through them one at a time. I don't have the barcodes because the book's lost. Type in the barcode, delete the book. So it's time consuming. And
Okay.
I was trying to find a way to just say delete everything.
Right. And also without having to pull up the student. And, with the open transactions, you can't delete a student as you referred to. So, well, Lisa.
We'll make a note.
Okay. By the way, folks, everyone out there, when I told Lisa, get to task or whatever, we've known each other, I don't know, 25 years. So I can yell at her and it's all in jest, just so you know. We've been friends and colleagues in library world for 20 plus years. I forgot how long. Lisa's a great cook. When we've had in-house meetings, well, you can always expect a nice lunch. I'll just say that. Okay. Well, thank you, Amy. Those are very good suggestions. Okay. Now, I don't know what page. I might have lost my pagination here. Just a second.
I think we're on 6.
Are we on? Yeah, but there's something I was looking for to show you. We are on 6. We did the portal, 5, 6, the lost items report. We did the COVID. Let me go to page 7. Okay, I don't see it here, but it's on here somewhere. I don't want to take too much time. I wanted to show you that you can now go to items, go to export. It's on these sheets somewhere. I know it is, but I don't want to take the time. It's in there. And you can choose a call number range. Now, this would be in MARC format. I have to make that very clear. Some people sometimes will export and they'll give me an email or a call or something saying, I can't read it. So if you wanted to read it, there's a nice free software called MARC Edit, and maybe Lisa knows of others, etc. But this will export it in MARC format. I think I already did this. You see here, I did a call number range from 200 to 299. I excluded withdrawn, and I had 159 MARC records. Now, if you try to open that, you would need MARC Edit or the like.
And typically they're only using this exporting when they want to do a collection development with one of the vendors, like
Right.
Follett or Permabound or anything like that. So they do want those in
MARC
MARC format to be able to upload.
Right. But there's other ways to do that and get a CSV. Let me just show you that. This is old, but just so you know, the shelf list and ranges. So I could put in whatever range I like. Okay, and I'll create the report. And this is just the hundreds. You can see there's, by the way, there's $472, average price $891. There I can export as a CSV. So if you want to export the MARC for another vendor or whomever to look at your collection in MARC, great. Or you buy MARC Edit. But if you go to the shelf list, you can do the same thing and export as a CSV. So if I select all pages, I won't do it, but it'll export as a CSV. And then I have a nice file, a CSV spreadsheet with my hundreds, and I could use that for whatever I need to use it for. Okay, so this is my my option. If you need CSV, use the shelf list. If you need MARC records, use the export functionality. Okay. I'm just going to show one more thing. And Harry, did you want to say something after I'm done with things?
Sure. I think we're going to be going into future updates as well, and there's a bit
All
of
right.
an overlap as well with the.
Okay, I'll try to get out of here, Harry. I get going, I can't stop. So,
John?
yeah.
There is something I would like you to show before you turn it back over to Harry. When you're all done, if you could quickly show how to inventory by location.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, did we need a break? I thought I saw that on our, do you need a?
I did not put a break.
Oh, I was looking at something else. Never mind. Well, if anyone needs a break, take one, or we can call one, but I'm going to show what Lisa asked for on inventory, which is great because you'll see I have all these locations here. Graphic novel. By the way, do you see how this says graphic novel and this says graphic novels? This is a great time. I'm going to segue, but let me just show you this, where you go to reports and tools, and so that you have data consistency and integrity, you go to your location authority and you fix them. So I have graphic novel and graphic novels. Which one is it? So you could go over and fix these or take one out. But this is why you'll have data integrity and consistency because of our authority. And we also have it for prefixes. Just wanted to say that. Okay, let's go to inventory.
Many places have taken this COVID time to genreify their collection. So it'd be nice for them to be able to see how they can inventory those genres one at a time.
Right. So here I'm in inventory. And of course I can click all these. and I could unclick, someone asked me, do I click ebook for inventory? I'll say, no, it never gets lost. Maybe electronically it could, but it's not the same. But here's your location. So if you wanted to do a location of the elementary non-FIC, and you want to do by range, you could put a range in of FIC AAA to FIC ZZZ, or J5, like it says over here, J523.47, whatever. You have this location. And then it's another, that's why I pointed out where we have graphic novel and graphic novels. That's why you want to have one and use the location authority tool. Okay. So there we go with the different, I could do graphic novels and put the, whatever the, I don't remember the call number, but I could put the range in. I could do the entire collection. But if I do the entire collection, you see what went away? All my options. So by range gives you your location option.
And John, when you do it by location and you select that location and you process the inventory, the reports strictly look at what's been scanned and that particular location, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a nice addition because when I last worked in a school library, we did inventory all year long. We didn't do it at the end. We just did it on a quiet day when everybody was on field trips or something. So we would just go and do the hundreds and et cetera, and then we'd move along. I don't know, it's just how we did it. But now having the location makes it even easier. So, or a little bit tighter for you if you're doing that. One more thing, and then I think, Harry, I'm going way over, but I wanted to show something that I really like, and I wanted you to see it. And you may know about this. This was put in a while ago on system preferences. And I'm just going to show you something. Do you see this long list here? If I went to another library, it might say LC, call number, etc. And this was driven by a residential senior living facility, I think it's in New Hampshire, where they called and said, we don't want all this stuff. No one's going to use it. We want title, author, and subject. So there's a tool down in number 5, and I have a video on it, where you can go use attribute order. And here's where you can see how the ISBN was taken off in ISSN. Don't take those off because they'll affect Z import. So I'd leave those. But do I need an LC control number class? No, I don't need them because we're not an LC library. If I'd also, here's one other thing, and there's a video. If I'd like to take subject or anything I want here, local call number, I can come up here and drop it. Right here, I can take awards and put it down here. So you can actually change your drop-down menu for your students and teachers or anyone searching. It won't show now, but anyway, I'm just going to save it. So there's a video on that, and I wanted to show you one more thing before I do it. I'm just going to go to Circ or users or items, and you see this long list. If you go in number 1, the other one was in number 5. If you go in number 1 and you go to menu config. Now, if you're a high school, let's assume we're a high school. Well, they never come in with their teacher. They never come in as a homeroom. So you could turn those off from the drop down. Or search. I don't want in my high school beginner or whatever. I don't want reading levels. I'm not going to turn any of that off, but I just wanted to show you that this will allow you to tailor the drop downs of your admin tabs. Okay. And that is, I have a video on the YouTube channel, but I just thought I'd show you that before I close out. And
How about for printing notices? There's a lot there that I don't want. Is there something that is in there for setting that up?
not on these two. No. Is this Amy again?
You're getting to know me. Yes.
I know your voice. So you would like an option. What would you like to take off? I'm just curious.
I don't ever care about location. I can't remember. There's like 6 of them I turn off every time I'm emailing or printing notices.
Okay. Lisa, If you could write that down, that would probably be something maybe in I think I'm projecting this out to the future,
I
but
just want to clarify. So Amy, you want to be able to change that in settings so you don't have to do it every time.
Correct.
okay, I bet when we implement that, it'd be in the preferences on overdue and fine management. Harry could chime in, but I bet this is where this is where we'll put setting your preferences. I'm projecting into the future, but this is where it probably should be, so you don't have to do it every time.
Yeah, I think a default configuration for overdue notices, we'll have to figure out where to put it, but it could go here, yes.
Yeah. So folks, in a moment, I'm going to turn it over to Harry. Lisa, thank you for putting this all together. I think it's working out nice. I hope everyone this fall has a normal school year. I have 2 grandchildren who are just totally sick. Well, my granddaughter's going back to school full time, and I'll just share this with you before I leave. She came home and told my daughter, her mom, she'd never touched an iPad all day or a computer, and she was so happy. And for the first day at this teeny little school out in the middle of nowhere, all the kids were outside with sketch pads and watercolors down by a creek. And they spent most of the day, it was a nice warm day, outside. They didn't go in and open their math books or history. They gave them a soft opening, which I think is brilliant. My granddaughter was so happy. So I'm just sharing that with you, and I'm going to stop sharing altogether and turn it over to Harry. Just a sec. Okay, here we are. Okay, just give me 1 second. Why am I not? Okay, for some reason I'm having the same issue that Harry had. Just a sec. What the heck? Sorry, folks. Just a sec. I'm trying to find my full screen and I'm not getting it.
Harry, why don't you just try sharing your screen? and
Yeah.
see.
Okay, I will.
This is a little new, Lisa, setting up the co-sharing, and I'm not finding something on my screen.
Okay, are you seeing my screen yet?
I'm not yet, Harry, but it might be me.
So do you need to just click stop share, which is the red button next to the green
But
one?
yeah, unfortunately, it's not. I'm seeing all these people, but I'm not seeing my menu.
Go all the way down the bottom. It doesn't pop up.
No, I'm not. Normally, it always there. I have the ask to unmute.
It's the view options up on top.
It's not showing me the view options either.
Oh,
I'm-
look way
Right there, right
up on
there.
top.
Stop, he's there, stop, all the way at the bottom.
Oh,
Stop participant sharing.
It says view options way up at the top.
I'm not seeing that.
You
Okay,
could probably do it. Try to see if you can do it, Lisa.
all right. I stopped John.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I wasn't seeing it at all. It's a whole new look for me. Sorry. Now we have Harry's screen. Thank you.
Ah, very good.
Sorry about that, folks.
Okay, so thank you all for, and thank you, John, for giving us such a good overview of all these changes. That means I can just sort of swiftly go through some of these things. Some of the, one of the changes we made is, and that has been requested frequently, is to add the thumbnails to notices that are going out. So the reserve ready notices now will have thumbnails on them. The email transactions and due date lists that are sent by email will have transactions on them. The new, I'm not sure, John, if you got to this, but but if you did, excuse me for repeating, but when you're doing loans in the future, if you want to be able to send the date due and current loan transactions to a student and or teacher, and you know that they have an email address, you can do that now as well. That's been requested also by public libraries and special libraries that we work with, I think somewhere in Czechoslovakia recently, but elsewhere too, and so on. So, and then the overdue messages will include the picture. So that makes it easier for a student to remember where the book is or to find it. And John showed you about the fact that we include the OPAC bib lists as well. So these are some of the changes that that have happened. The COVID-19 lost reports, John went through that. Now I'm going to chat with you a little bit about the fact that some of our updates are going to be released in stages. And we've spent a lot of time working during the winter and summer season on a new Opals app or mobile friendly application. And one of the challenges we had is because the Opals community in general uses the portal so effectively and you have all these customized tabs, one of the challenges for an app is to do everything that you can do in the regular Opals system. And our programmers, and I have great admiration for them, have actually managed to do that, so that in the new Opals system updates, we are releasing a beta version of this application, which we would ask you as librarians to check out and report back to us what you find. Some folks already have this link and are working with it and are giving us feedback. We just want to make sure that this works very, very well for all of you. And I'm trying to, I don't know if I can get back to my screen or not, but so you'll have to imagine that this is actually projecting onto, not projecting, but rather it's, let me go back to my home page. So this is on my desktop, but all of this would actually fit onto your mobile device quite beautifully. So if I look up solar system in my catalog.
We're not seeing your screen.
Oh, you're not, I'm sorry. New search.
I see your document, which never shows, or it can show, but you might want to.
Okay, is that showing now?
There we go. Yep.
Oh, good, thank you. I may never get back to the document again. So I'm sorry. So let me go back to home and search. So we can also replicate the expert search. So you can search all or within a location if you have used genre. And it will also enable you to search your resources. So if I were to search, say, nursing, then the system would go through and search all of the resources. If I were looking for, looking at an ebook, for example, it would enable me to access that ebook. In this case, I'm connected to a college collection of about 150,000 ebooks, and then you could just put in your student ID if you wanted to. In this case, EBSCO is not working for us today. And the system would actually enable you to access those resources. So that's how that has been set up for us to work. And the system also enables you to, let me just get back to that again. You can create bibliographies just as John was showing you before. And if you click on the little shopping cart, that will enable you to do everything you can on the desktop version. And they tell me, my programmers tell me anybody who's under 50 knows what this gear stands for, but I did ask them to put a little tag there saying bib options. So you can include summaries, content notes, location, book cover or not. You can create sorting, and you can create a bibliography, ALA, APA, or shelf list, etc. From this location. And we're going to make this more beautiful on the left-hand side, but when you click on the drop-down box, everything that you would have defined on your portal will fit onto your cell phone or your portable device. So if you created browsers and topic lists, then the system will allow you to get into that. You can create, if you've added widgets to your system, they're all interactive and can be accessed from your tablet or portable device. If you were looking for new items, then the system will show those on the screen. Reviewed items, Pathfinder, they're displayed quite nicely actually as a gallery now. And if you click on a Pathfinder, then the system will display that and make it fit onto your cell phone as well. So everything that you will have done, and this is quite a remarkable achievement, I must say, and the credit is all to our programmers, then this actually will all fit onto your cell phone. So we're going to make that available for you to try out and report back to us. And we're going to continue to work. So give us feedback, give feedback to Lisa and to us, and we'll be happy to fix whatever might need to be fixed that you will uncover for us in trying all of this out. Oh, yes, actually, if I log in, this is one of the other things I wanted to show you is if I log in, then the system, in addition to providing cataloging searches, will provide you with a basic circulation system. And you could enter a user barcode or name, and I can bring myself up, one of the delinquents in the library. The system will list on my cell phone, my administrator cell phone, my transactions, and then I could, if you had a cell phone or a tablet, then the system would activate the camera and be able to scan the barcode of the book that you would like to circulate. We don't recommend doing this, and our advisory board does not recommend doing this for a classroom of 30 elementary school students. But if you're away from the charging desk and you want to lend out something in a hurry, then this is a good way to be able to take care of those unusual situations where that is the case. I'm going to try and get back to my my document. Now I've got to switch screens again, I guess. New share.
Okay, Harry, we now see your document, if that's what you're wondering.
Oh, okay, thank you. So the document kind of has screen captures. I have to learn we don't know how to do how to demonstrate cell phone applications and displays through Zoom yet, but we will one day. So we have captured some illustrations and included them in your document. One of the other things that we've done, and I'm only going to talk about it for now because it's not new to regional library services, but we worked with them in the past year to develop an advanced booking module for Opals. And on a regional level, some of your school library systems have collections of STEM items and kits and CDs and DVDs and etc. That teachers can and the schools subscribe to these services, and they can borrow these items by making an advanced booking reservation. And in fact, on that level, we even incorporate their delivery schedules if there's a van that visits the schools on a regular basis. And so this is something that's become very popular, and it's actually available for you on a local level. And some libraries that we work with in this past year, their teachers have become accustomed to requesting resources ahead of time, which is kind of a nice change for you as librarians. They're usually calling you the day before, I guess, and asking you for 30 books on Native American history, and leaving you scrambling around for them. This module will enable you to present them with an application where they can browse your library collection. If I'm a social studies teacher and teaching Native American history the first week of June, I could go through and browse your collection and choose the 30 items that I would like so that I could support my students' projects with resource-based resources from your library. Then that would at least, and there's a whole management system that allows you as a librarian to know that these requests have been made, to notify you, that goes through the various phases, similar to advanced self-service reserves that John has shown to you, but somewhat different because the process is a little different in terms of gathering the resources and then arranging for delivery and packaging them if they indeed they have to be packaged, etc. So that's another valuable resource management application that will be in your next update. There will be, and Lisa and Karen and we will be working together to provide you with the tutorials and so on that are necessary to do that. And by the way, your region does provide you with library automation, resources of various kinds that can be booked in advance. And some of them will be using these models to be able to let your constituents know that these are available, and also to link them in with your local OPAC. So we've developed a way to, on the local level, and I won't take the time to show it to you today, but there's a way for you in defining and you use it to use your user types to enable the discovery search for a teacher who is logged in to have access to all the resources that you have available. It could be your local catalog, it could be search databases and discovery databases. It could also be resources that they subscribe to from your school library system. So when they log in, they would see all of those, whereas if a student logs in, it might not be possible for the student to have access to those resources, but in our case, you can. So if you're a teacher. So there's a way to kind of do that kind of sorting out. We've talked about some of these other changes. The equipment management module has become very popular in school and districts because of the tsunami of Chromebooks and other resources and IT devices that have become available to and made available to students and teachers in a school. And we do have a way of managing that, and that's been adopted by many, as Lisa knows. And then in terms of textbook and advanced booking, we are adding advanced booking features to equipment management and textbook management as well. What's happened in some regions is that parents are requesting textbooks and on behalf of their students, and because of the hybrid and remote learning situation, they've requested ways for them to be able to reserve those items online and to arrange to have them picked up or delivered depending on the policies at that particular location. So those are some of the items. The Union Catalog, we've, for those of you doing interlibrary loan, we have changed the Union Catalog login option so that you can use your email account, because that seems to be becoming one of the keys to authenticating so many resources in our districts these days. And it's also a little more secure because you can change your login and password, not your login so much as your password, if you from time to time, to protect that. In terms of overdue ILL notices, the region has a way to notify libraries when their items are overdue or becoming overdue at the end of the school year. But when you log in as a librarian now, you will have the option, you do have the option now of generating reminders to those schools to whom you have loaned items from your library. We also have developed an ebook union catalog. So from time to time, well, quite often, almost every school library system buys ebooks on behalf of all the schools in their region. And one of the strategies that we worked out with some of them is the ability to create an ebook union catalog, so that instead of loading all of these collections into every single library site, they can be loaded into an ebook union catalog, and your discovery search in Opals can connect to those automatically and make them available to you. So those are some of the changes that are in the works and that have been done and that are being released incrementally. And these will continue to, there'll be another suite of updates at the end of June and more that are coming actually in mid-August. I'm going to do a quick change to my screen, try to anyway, to show you. I wonder if I can, I'm not being very successful. Here we go. We also have, one of the things that I wanted to also raise is the fact that many of you have updated your portals and they have become very popular. Parents and teachers are using them more and more. So it's what John has been showing you in terms of portal development. These are things that have been very useful. This school, for example, this middle school was able to communicate with students and parents how to manage curbside pickup and delivery during the pandemic of the ILL resources. They included a very nice tutorial with that. And by the way, this just to go down to their counter, this site I think has to be one of the most spectacularly visited sites. It's got 141,762 visits. So they, when these sites are well done, then they're your information broadcasting center platform. And I think that, as we were saying before, people have, one of the good things that happened because of the pandemic is that people have found ways to reach the library, and then they've discovered that the library does have a portal. They have all these resources and so on that are available to you. Trying to find one other one that one of the other projects we're working on, folks have told us that what they would like is to, and this is not to say anything mean about LibGuides, because they are actually a very valuable tool, but they kind of be, not every school can afford to subscribe to them. So librarians have told us that if we were to knit together in one utility in Opals, all of the different widgets and enable you to save the equivalent of a tab, then that would be the equivalent of a LibGuide, and then be able to archive them so you could display them at will and make them available to your teachers and students. So we had a librarian, Julie Walsh, who is retired now, but work on an example of an Opals quote unquote LibGuide and centered on women's history. And she did this one, which was pretty remarkable. And so we will be working this summer on coming up with a unified utility that allows you to create these types of topic focused guides, kind of like pathfinders on steroids, and then to be able to save them and to archive them. We will also be working as a group of librarians to create some for you, so that these some generic ones will be available for you to display and to use, and then you can finesse them with your own content that is, say, specific to your library collection. So in this case, for example, they've embedded a browsable selection or collection of women's resources books that are in that particular library. I think it was very well done, and we've shown it to a number of folks in your region who are with us today and who really like this. So, and others have out in Palo Alto, California, that district schools use Opals, and they love this as well, and have been cheering us on to do more with this sort of things. And one more thing that I wanted to show you, just to give you an idea of an overview of how things could evolve. Now, excuse me for going to a college, but I'm going to show this college to you because they have an extraordinary collection of resources, ebooks, hundreds of thousands of them. They have videos streaming available, and access to databases. And one of the things that we were able to do is to give them one place to find everything, so they can look up their book collections. They can focus on a student can focus on an ebook, for example. So if I wanted to get to this particular one, here I am. Now I put in my login, which is why I'm in right away. Or if I wanted to say, have a look at the videos that were at that particular library, I could do that as well, and get to it by just clicking, oh, not on the video cassette. That was kind of dumb, wasn't it? Sorry about that. So they have 1,472 videos on streaming video collection on nursing, for example. So I could get to that particular one by just clicking on the link, and it would take me to there too. And that's how smooth that all of this could be.
The History of Nursing 2.
So I won't spend too much more time, but you can see here that this site also, I will say that they serve 9,000 students, so they have an advantage over most schools in terms of the number of users. But this is a very well-populated portal as well, and they've had over 1,051,503 visits. So I just wanted to kind of give you a quick view of that work that most of you do, all of you do on your portals. It's really worth the time, and MORIC folks, Lucia and so on, we would all be happy to work with you to help you develop those resources so that you could continue to attract folks to the to your site. And I'm sorry I went over time, Lisa, but I would turn this back to you, and we look forward to more updates and to your feedback over the next little while as these deployments come on stream. You'll have much of June and the summer to review them if you have the time, and we're all open to your suggestions as well.
Thank you, Harry. Harry and John are going to stay on now. We're going to move to the open Opals question time period. I see that there is a recent question in here from Emily. Emily, if you want to unmute and actually ask that question, then they can bring it up on the screen and give you your answer.
Sure. Hi, this is Emily. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. So I had a quick question. I'm in a K-4 school, and when our students are searching, I did actually think of something. When you, for example, when you typed in nursing in the search terms and you came to the search results page, on the right-hand side is that orange box where you can look under like the call number and languages and location. Is there a way that I can edit that? Because sometimes my kids will click on like the citer button instead, or they'll accidentally click on something else that leads them. And sometimes it's just overwhelming for them. Is there a way that I can edit that?
Thanks for asking for that. We are changing this. One of the things we will be doing this summer is coming up with some changes to the OPAC displays. So for those of you who are invested in what exists and you're happy with it, you can stay with it. And we will be offering other displays. I forgot to mention that. And what you're seeing here on the right-hand side, that is one of the things we wanted to address. So if, Lisa, you could write that suggestion down. We could make it more editable. We want to change the visual as well so that it's less, it's more helpful for people who would like something more visual and etc. And where you could actually reduce what's here, because maybe some libraries don't offer some of the things that need to be mentioned here. And you might even want to ask us about choreography. So maybe sometimes you do want to make location browsing obvious if you are using genre collections, etc. But But that's a great, thank you for asking.
Yeah, no, thank you. Because I think it's wonderful for like high school, but I know for my younger kid, if you look also where it says search also, we have like the citer under there and they accidentally click that. And so it kind of, the classification number, it just is overwhelming for them. So I'm looking forward to hopefully an update where I'm sure high school appreciates it, but maybe geared more towards younger kids. So thank you so much.
Yes, and actually, you could probably turn off the CIDR search if.
Yeah, I can go into preferences. Emily, if you send me an email, what you want on the search also's removed, I can edit that so that can come off.
Awesome. Thank you, Lisa.
Right, but you did. Your question does resonate with us because we have had some feedback about the refined search. The academics love it, as you can see, but certainly the elementary and middle and high schools may want to pare it back a bit. And we also want to change it visually so that it looks a little more modern as well, less academic. Now, one of the things that we are working on as well, as I forgot to mention, is SURF, which is the a collection of curated websites. Some of you used it a lot many years ago, and it's interesting how ideas come back again. And folks have asked us to do that again. So we didn't just reactivate it, but we spent a lot of time, and we use this as a way to have a look at redesigning the screen. So these kinds of changes are coming. And as well as SURF reemerging as a part of your discovery searching that you can do. And one of the neat things about it is that it can become, again, more visual. So if you have a resource that you have cataloged, which is often the case, of course, with websites that has many pages, you can see the homepage and the basic information and go to that site. But you can also see all the sub pages that are there that are significant, and it will give you an illustration that allows you to go to that that particular page etc. So that's another change that is coming your way.
Anybody have any other questions for Harry or John before in the last few minutes before we wrap up? Feel free to speak up. Everybody is so quiet, so that to me is a good thing. It means that we've covered a lot of things. As the updates are applied, you will receive notification from me. All the libraries will, as the updates are applied. As Harry said, there's going to be some possibly deployed at the end next week. There'll be some more in June and then some more over the summer. So as things do get applied to the Opals servers here at the MORIC, we will notify you via email.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yes, thank you, everybody, for coming.
There's one question here.
Okay.
Let's see. Teachers do not have a login to Opals. That's the question. We can create one. We don't have the teacher data to be able to update that all the teachers. We only have the student data, but you can one-on-one put in an email for a teacher and have them create a password. So that's something that I can work with you at a later date to be able to do.
That's an interesting question too, Lisa, because we're facing that with the single sign-on as people come on with those and they're bringing in information either through ClassLinks or Google even. Sometimes the teachers, the data that's in the school, in the district management system doesn't have the teacher data to bring across. So I think Richard has worked out, I know Richard has worked out some procedures with some of those districts. He was working with Brewster in Putnam, Northern Westchester last week, where they do a one-time upload of teacher names somehow from somewhere, make sure that there's an email address, and that will handshake with either ClassLinks or Google Classroom or both. But then that's protected for future updates so that those do not get overwritten when the regular updates are done for the student data on a regular basis. So it's tricky, and it's kind of remarkable, but that is the case that many of the school management systems don't seem to have teacher information in that database.
And I think a lot of that, Harry, has to do with the employment, the human resources and the privacy and that type of thing, that they don't necessarily share that as much as they do the student data.
Okay, fair enough. Good.
And no, if there are no other questions, then we can go ahead and officially end the Opals user group. As usual, if there are any questions, we do have everybody's questions and enhancements and everything that we are going to put together in a document, one document, and send it to Harry and to John, and for them to share with their future enhancements. And if anybody thinks of any question at a later date, feel free to email myself or Karen, and we will address your question. If we don't have an answer, obviously we go to Harry and John, and we will definitely get you the answer that you're looking for.
Yes. So we do look forward to hearing from you all. When you get bored with the beach this summer, we invite you to visit us and chat with us. We'll be available, probably more accessible than when school starts in September. But we do have a lot of changes coming, and we do appreciate your input. So thank you, and have a great summer.
Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good day and take care. So where do,
And then a meeting for all.
I have to stop the recording. I stopped the recording.
Right there, pause or stop recording, right next to screen sharing.